Perek HaShoel Sapara, Daf Kuf Bey, sponsored Refuah Shlema from Moshe Yehuda ben Rachel Miriam. We begin with the Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses the owner's obligations to his tenant. The owner is responsible to supply doors, windows, locks, and for any repairs that can only be done professionally, such as replacing ceiling boards and support a broken beam. Anything not requiring a professional craftsman is the responsibility of the tenant. In addition, building a roof ladder, a makeh, a railing around the roof is the tenant's responsibility. Since roofs were not used often, the Chachamim did not place these obligations on the owner. Also, it is the tenant's responsibility to build rain spouts and space in the doorway for a mezuzah. These were not professional jobs. The Gemara digresses to teach a law of mezuzah. If a tenant moves out of a house, he should leave the mezuzahs for the new tenants unless the owner is a Gentile. Some people remove their expensive mezuzahs and replace them with less expensive kosher mezuzahs. The next law in the Mishnah discusses whether the owner or tenant is entitled to the dung animals deposited in the courtyard. Our Mishnah teaches it belongs to the owner. The Gemara explains he did not rent his courtyard. Stray animal entered and deposited its dung. The novelty of this ruling is even where the tenant acquired it, still it belongs to the owner. The Gemara uses this as a support to the teaching of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina that a chatzah mishtamer, a courtyard surrounded by a fence, acquires on behalf of its owner even without his knowledge. The Gemara extends the law of a chatzah mishtamer even to one not surrounded by a fence, as long as nobody would enter to take an object found there. The Gemara questions Rabbi Yossi from a brisa that states dung collected from the airspace of the courtyard belongs to the tenant. Number one, Abai explains the tenant attached the bucket to the bottom of the animal. It defecated directly into the bucket, never entering the airspace of the courtyard. Two, Rav explains the law of the airspace of the courtyard belongs to the owner is only when the object in the airspace lands eventually in the courtyard. In this case, it landed in the bucket. This case is different than one who relinquished ownership of a wallet, threw it through the airspace of a house from the front door to the back door. Rav was in doubt whether the owner of the house acquired it by way of its airspace. His suffix was based on nothing separated the wallet from the ground. In our case, the bucket was on the ground under the animal. The Gemara brings up another difficulty with Rabbi Yossi and Rav Chanina's opinion. A brisa states two laws concerning birds of a dovecot. Number one, the law of shiluach hakan applies to them. They leave their nest to search for food in fields. The verse concerning shiluach hakan states, Ki yikari kan sipor, explained to mean that the obligation to send the mother bird away before taking the eggs applies if one happens upon a nest, excluding bezuman and domesticated birds. Two, anyone who takes them or their eggs violates gezela d'Rabbanan mishum darkei shalom. The Gemara claims both laws contradict Rabbi Yossi. The exclusion of prat and mezuman applies as well to the baby birds and eggs. According to Rabbi Yossi, the owner's courtyard acquires without his knowledge the bird and eggs are his, excluding them from the mitzvah shluch hakan, and the isur gezela should be doraisa. Rava answers that Baraisa discusses a case where the bird laid the majority of an egg, requiring shluch hakan, but the dovecot's owner's acquisition does not take place until it falls in the courtyard. Therefore, the exclusion of prat and mezuman does not apply. The isur gezela refers to the bird. Since it returned to the dovecot at night, the owner is not biyayish, or it refers to the egg a majority laid. The owner's intention to acquire it prohibits it midrabanan because of gezela. The Gemara explains another explanation why the Baraisa does not contradict Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda Marabba holds it is prohibited to acquire the eggs as long as the mother is still roosting on them, based on the verse that says, Therefore, even if the egg fell in the courtyard, he does not acquire. Its power of acquisition is not greater than his. The reason the theft is the Rabbanan is a child took the eggs without sending away the mother. Since the mitzvah shluch hakan was not fulfilled, the owner did not acquire the eggs by way of his courtyard. Still, the child's father is obligated to return the eggs mipnei darkei shalom, to encourage peaceful relations. Now we move on to another Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses the law of a rental payment during a leap year. The Mishnah states if the contract was for a year, then the tenant does not pay for the extra month. If the contract was a payment per month, then the owner is entitled to payment for the extra month. The Mishnah brings a Maisa concerning a rental of a bathhouse that the owner mentioned the yearly rate first and the monthly rate second. Rabbi Shimon and Gamliel and Rabbi Yossi decided the parties must divide the additional month. There are three different opinions in the Gemara concerning this psak din. Number one, Rab disagreed with this decision. He holds Tafas Lashon Achron. He attributes primary importance to the end of the owner's statement. The tenant should have been paid the additional month since the monthly rate was stated last. Number two, Shmuel explains that these Chachamim were in doubt which part of the statement is primary. The case was where the landlord came to collect the rent in the middle of the month. The Chachamim of the Mishnah held, Hamed Maman al Cheskaso. let the disputed money remain where it is. The first half of the month passed in the possession of the tenant, so it belongs to him. Second half belongs to the landlord. If he came to collect the rent at the beginning of the month, it belongs to the landlord, or at the end, it belongs to the tenant. Number 3, Rav Nachman explains the opinion of the two Chachamim in the Mishnah also as uncertain which part of the statement is primary. They follow Sumchas's opinion, Maman Amuta Safik Chokin. Rav Nachman held the Chachamim hold karka becheskes baleo medes. Regardless of the time of the month the landlord comes to collect, he's entitled to the rent, even if he mentioned the yearly rate last.